Judgment have been something that could have given Tempo Storm the tools to force a fight?
Yeah, it would have been cool to see Tempo Storm use that in a way that allowed them to dictate fights, because it seemed like so many times they were forced to respond to a Tracer in their backline harassing somebody or a Chen in their backline harassing somebody. So I would have liked to have seen a Judgment to be able to pair with the Genji and the Greymane, because it did feel like, you know, Fury was never able to use Sanctification and say, it's go time, Greymane, Genji, let's go right now.
All right, well, next map is going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen. Do we have any thoughts initially between these two teams going into that?
Tomb of the Spider Queen, for me, it does scream Tempo Storm right away. In terms of macro, in terms of control, can they control the early game well enough? Can they keep the Medivh out of the rotation? And now even the Tracer. Because the Tracer on this Battleground, if you can get a fort or two broken down in the early game, she becomes much better in terms of controlling the Battleground. So we'll see if Tempo Storm can hold that early game.
All right, game number 2, draft on the way here. Currently, we have Roll20 leading 1-0 in this best of 5.
It's a favorite Battleground for Tempo Storm, but it's sort of a new favorite Battleground for Roll20. Ever since they defeated MVP Black on this Battleground, they have been picking it quite often in their series throughout the group stage. So that's why we're seeing them go ahead and pick it up here.
Yeah, we see the Medivh ban once again and the Uther ban. Looking for an early Dahaka pick. Both these teams seem to prioritize Dahaka fairly highly on this map. Once again, the changes with his passive and the way the bushes are lined up through the map, just really strong here. We also have the Genji, very comfortable for Tempo. Have to see what they go with here, as well as the Malfurion, by the way.
Is this a Battleground that we could see the wonderful Diablo come out on again? He's pretty good at controlling those turning points.
Yeah, definitely.
Unless we see a glaring anomaly, can Roll20 just kind of keep their ban strategy going, focusing on like Uther, and they went Karazin last game, just try and kind of pin June into a really uncomfortable spot? Is that fair?
It worked for them in the last game, although, like I said, June has not been playing Malfurion in this tournament. He's been sticking to Uther, Karazim, and Rhaegar. There was one missed Ancestral in the last game, so maybe that's a potential strategy. But unless Tempo Storm switch things up, it's likely that Tempo wants to get Rhaegar again, since he is good for the wave clear on this Battleground and has high mobility. But of course, Roll20, once again, getting their Malfurion. He is such an important part of Roll20's drafting.
Yeah, we see the Dahaka first pick for Tempo Storm. Their response is the Genji, Dahaka, 2 very strong picks. You guys are absolutely right about what you're saying about the Malfurion. Tempo Storm seems to have dropped it in priority. There's many cases where they could have taken it in their first 3, and they usually opt to just skip it. So I don't know if that's that good of an idea for them, honestly. They draft compositions that are very vulnerable to Twilight Dream pretty often, so gotta see how this pans out for them. I do think this game is already looking better than last game, though. Having first pick, you get 3 power picks on Tomb of the Spider Queen. It should be a lot better than last draft for them. Still have the Greymane up for Tempo Storm, obviously, if they want to take that.
And the Anubarak as well.
Oh, and the Anubarak. I gotta imagine those are the 2 picks. They're thinking a lot about this, though.
Anubarak and Rhaegar will be the choice, so staying with that Rhaegar seems that they definitely want to make sure that he is in the rotation when possible, but the Greymane being left behind, unfortunately, which means he could be banned out.
Yeah, a bit surprising to me that they do prioritize the Rhaegar there. It is really good on Tomb of the Spider Queen specifically for the wave clear. You saw last game they were playing Battlefield, Roll20 banned out the Monk because the Monk is absolutely amazing in the mass melee compositions, but yeah, Rhaegar this time around much more valuable on Tomb than BOE.
I think there is a possibility that Tempo Storm may think about Kael'thas here. I know that they like him on Dragonshire more, but we actually haven't had any drafts from Tempo Storm on Tomb of the Spider Queen throughout any of the 2.0 since we switched over to that. So it has been a while since we've seen what Tempo Storm liked, but since they already have a new Barak, they're able to combo that in his stuns along with Gravity Lapse possibly. But there is a Tassadar ban, so no Tassadar available if Tempo Storm wanted to get something like Tass Greymane. So they didn't ban Greymane, maybe Roll20 want to get it here.
Yeah, if they don't ban Greymane here, I have to imagine something going along the lines of Greymane. Oh, I was going to say Greymane Leoric. They're choosing to ban the Leoric instead. I like that. Leoric is a comfort pick for Roll20, and it's very good on this map. Could
Greymane Teriel be a thing?
Greymane Teriel definitely a thing. It's a combo that we've seen multiple times. The win rate of it was a little bit low overall, but that was after you factor in the lower teams. It actually wasn't too shabby when you actually look at everything. So Teriel, Greymane, pretty strong engaged, great overall. There is other possibilities. We haven't seen Rag from Roll20 in a while, but this Battleground in particular, he can be okay with the Molten Core slowing down the entire fight if they're afraid of Tempo Storm trying to draft an early composition. But with it being Tempo Storm, you don't really have to have the fear of that.
Looking forward to seeing what damage dealer Roll20 wants to pick here. There's still quite a few good options left. Greymane and... Oh, there's the Greymane.
Jojo.
So the control of lanes is where we're going for the wave clear.
Probably adding another warrior to that lineup to round things out for Roll20. They tend to favor the double warrior compositions. But now looking at Tempo Storm, what damage dealer do they have? What is going to be played? Dahaka usually is Caterpillar's hero. We'll have a new Barak for Fury, most likely. Not going to have a triple support or a triple warrior. That's a Johanna. I wonder if Tempo still wants their Cassia here.
Cassia, Tychus both look okay to me in terms of picks for Tempo Storm. Fan, what are you thinking?
I mean, those are both viable for sure. You never want to forget the mages, though. Li Ming's still up as well as Kel'Thas. And they go with the Li Ming plus the Alarak. I like it. Alarak was a hero that Sam was known for when he first was released. Plus, this is one of Alarak's best maps, which is constant skirmishing, constant rotations. If you ever catch someone in a combo, very high chance for a kill, especially combined with the multiple stuns of Anub'arak and Dahaka with his tongue.
It feels like he thrives everywhere on the Battleground. You can have him with the group, or you can even have him solo just being a pest. I think he's good.
But with Dahaka, he shouldn't have to solo, and that allows him to make sure that if he wants to go for extended lightning, chaos reigns, that it's a bit easier time of him hopefully being able to get those tri-casts to finish off the quests quickly.
And in theory, he sounds like a really good pickup against Genji in particular. If Genji ever oversteps and you're able to get a combo in silence, you can get the kill on Genji. Now, Alarac's only been picked 3 times so far in this tournament and has only 1 win. But again, in theory, Alarac sounds great against Genji, and with an Arthas coming in there to round out the rotation, both teams have really strong comps.
Fan?
Yeah, I definitely like the last pick Arthas there as well. They needed some tanky frontline that could solo, and Arthas, really good choice. Pretty good into the Dahaka as well. I think the compositions this time around are very evenly matched. The Alarak looks like it's going to be the deciding factor. It's either going to be really successful or it's going to fail miserably. So it's going to...
That sounds like every Alarak ever.
Yep.
Either it's absolutely dominant or you may as well be 5v4. So looking at the draft as a whole, any other thoughts?
Tempo Storm and Li Ming, for me, is sort of iffy so far. I feel like we've seen a lot more better Li Ming's prediction time.
Indeed.
Ooh, and that part is making it difficult for me to make a prediction, but in this case, I believe in the Alarak. I love it that it's on Tomb and that Tempo Storm have Dahaka, so I'm going for Tempo Storm in this game.
Trick.
Sometimes I have moments where I want to believe in the High Lord himself. I'm going to go with the Alarak train here. We're going to pick up Tempo Storm for the victory.
I mean, personally, I like both drafts. The main weakness, I would say, is I don't like how Tempo Storm is always neglecting Malfurion, but if they do that, I think this is the map that's best for that strategy. So I'm going with Tempo Storm for this one.
All right, well, thank you very much, guys. Let's see what the chat thinks as we check in with them as well. A big in favor of Roll20 here after that first game, maybe turning quite a few heads to say the least. Thank you very much for checking with you in just a moment. As for now, we head over to the commentary team once again. Game number 2, Roll20 and Tempo Storm.
Dreadnought. Tempo Storm fell in game 1 on Battlefield of Eternity, arguably their worst map. Things seem to look a little different draft-wise here on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah, they do look a little brighter, though Alarak's personality, may not show it. They very much is a more offensive and realistic composition here for Tempo Storm. But in the blue, we do have Roll20. Glarong will be on the Genji. Buds is always on Malfurion. Johanna played by Justing. Prismaticism on Greymane. And Yoda playing Arthas.
And on the right side in red will be Tempo Storm, as Caterpillar will be on Dahaka. Anub'arak played by Fury. June on Rhaegar. Som loving some Alarak this go around, and Cotton Luck will be on Li Ming.
I mean, we already know that the Alarak has not been a common pick at this tournament at all. So a high focus here has got to be on Som, hitting the combos just like that all game with the high mobility there of Glarong. But Fury takes a bit of damage. The trade here is going to be near 50-50, but Tempo Storm has an extremely offensive early game.
They definitely do. I'm curious how aggressive they intend to be on rotations. We know a composition of Johanna in any comp, as we see Genji dive in that back line, is going to be heavily focused on rotating between a couple of lanes, while Arthas will likely be the solo laner. However, I just wonder how much flexibility they're going to give Glaurung on Genji to rotate and try and help out between the 4-man and that solo lane bottom.
Yeah, and you know, Genji on a map where he just doesn't complement the wave player at all. We know it is so crucial on Tomb of the Spider Queen. I'm going to be looking at the value that that's going to be providing. You know, we've seen Roll20 take some talents to be able to compensate for that. The Moonburn at level 1 from Malfurion will be able to aid him there, but everything else is going to be standard here for these teams and the talents at level 1.
Look at Glaurung's positioning. This is the rotation area, and he's just standing right in it like, come on through here. Let me just poke away at you as we continue to do this. But Fury trying to keep an eye on things, seeing if he can find a stun target for himself.
But we do see a gank actually on bottom. Tempo Storm Alarak actually made a beautiful rotation. Luckily enough, though, Yoda, I mean, he's an Arthas. It's pretty hard to be able to get the kill there, even drop the Diva spray on the way out.
You gotta let him know what's up. I guess this is my lane. But either way, we're going to look at the rotation. I mean, we take a look at the talent Dread, and we have Regen Master on both sides of the field here, and both of them are going to want those globes early. 30 globes is a lot, but it assists Tomb. Easy rotations, easy globes, quicker quest completion.
Nice stun lock there, and Glaurung already just gets absolutely obliterated. The chain CC here from Tempo Storm. That was what we were talking about when looking at the draft. The Alarak into the Anubarak, the synergy there. They need to keep this up, and Glaurung has to be more patient if Roll20 is going to have a shot here in this game, and that leads to a nice immediate turn-in for Tempo Storm. 30 gems now turned in.
I love that rotation. I mean, we used to see it so often between a Murden or ETC. You just disrupt the rotation, look for that easy blow-up, but I'd say a combination of Dahaka and Anubarak, not too shabby.
Oh, there's going to be another stun lock onto Buds. The damage out of Li Ming, but Buds, he walks away. Nobody on Tempo Storm was able to get the kill here.
That was a lethal. That was 3-man burrow into Roll20, and somehow they walk away from that. So nicely done for Roll20 to go away, but this is in another early aggressive Tempo Storm that... can they maintain it though, Trent?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, can they keep up that aggro? I don't know. I want to say right to your face, yes, I completely believe that. But I feel like there's only so many times where we can watch Tempo have an advantage and just hope the opponent makes a misplay, to where I feel like at this point it's an outlier if they do the opposite. If they end up being that aggressive team and continue it. But I do like that Tempo, after that first game, they make the changes, they get the knockups just like this, and the telekinesis. Luckily, Prismat can walk away.
Take a look at this Li Ming build. We're going into more auto attack focus when those Qs hit. So will we, it'll be likely we see that Calamity. So looking on that follow-up as telekinesis by Psalm, getting him just out of range there. But Cawthon being dove upon by Glaurung. Fury trying to come over and lend some help. But Dread, Li Ming looking to try and really focus that. If they can get the lockdown, really try and blow somebody up.
Yeah, talking about lockdown, there it is again on to the Genji. The CC is there, but somehow the damage is not going to be. The turn on the Fury is real. Roll20 is fighting back.
I love the fact that somehow, someway, Roll20 is never out of a fight as Alarak continues to combo on to Roll20. Things just back and forth right now. Again, Tempo Storm, is that the moment that shakes them?
Yeah.
Right? Is that the moment where, like, look, we were aggressive, we almost had the blow up. Do we need to be more reserved?
I would argue it is. I hope it's not, but I would argue that it would be, you know, because you can see the mentality shift of them trying to be more offensive, but when you have what looked like a very pretty, clean opening initiation and it turns sour so very quickly, and it's not the first one. You know, we've seen 3 in a row that seem to be failing, whereas only one gank has actually been successful. I wouldn't be surprised if that's enough to hurt the mentality here of Tempo, but that was their moment to try and get the lockdown. And
Tempo, okay, let's talk a little bit more about this. Show of force at level 4 for Alarak. We haven't seen a lot of Alarak, and generally it hasn't necessarily been that build. Whenever you hit 3 abilities, you do that bonus damage. The same for Li Ming. So long as you hit those magic missiles, you're getting that bonus damage. They're looking to go all in, and that is another kill here. And that this combo, Dread, is deadly.
Yeah, we can see the practice that Tempo Storm has put into this combo because they're never stacking their CC. They're waiting for the opening to happen out of a new Barak, then immediately following up with the silence, another CC from the Barak, and then telekinesis to just be the cherry on top to really seal the deal here. But Roll20 is the team that has managed to get the turn in, though Tempo Storm is the one winning into the picks. It's what can Roll20 make happen here. Can they open up the map a bit and focus on manipulating it, because they need to with their composition and how they've been failing up to the aggression of Tempo.
I think about Roll20, I think about last game, and I think about the minute 10 hits, the things for them. They are such a confident team when they have heroics. They know that they can land the combos, they know that they can blow people up. And between a Genji and a Greymane, they definitely know they can do just that.
Yeah, they very much do. I'm surprised at the lack of rotation down to bottom here from Tempo Storm. Just Roll20 has shown a lot of resources committed to that bot lane there with that Web Weaver, and it's just kind of been standing, hanging out, and now we see Tempo Storm making that transition when it's already going to be cleared. You know, I just feel like it could have been a little bit quicker using that aggression. You know, a beautiful flank opportunity there. Chain the CC, look for those picks, because Tempo has gotten a little bit momentum, but they've done that before. They need to make sure they don't let go. I need an absolute death grip of this game. Otherwise, I fear Roll20 will really show spot later in the game.
Well, level 10 here for Roll20 as they lock in. Cursed Bullet will be the heroic of choice, and Arthas here. Oh, I was going to say, is he holding it? But no, he's going to go ahead and lock in that army, fully expecting a handful of team fights as we go on.
Yeah, there's enough gems here to actually complete a secondary turn-in for Roll20. Wow, Yoda actually gets a free turn-in just because of the 10 advantage. Tempo Storm should have been able to scout that out and at least get one delay. So now 2 away for Roll20, whereas Tempo Storm obviously have an extreme amount into their hands. They get the initiation onto Prismat. The combo is going to be cleansed out. The silence actually hitting Buds there, but nice defense from Roll20.
Nice defense as Glaurung. Nice zoning there by Yoda. Now Dahaka taking a little bit of pressure. He's going to walk away. But Yoda, with the body blocks, securing the turn-in.
Oh, Yoda cannot get caught out here. He's going to get the Icebound Fortitude. Actually, look for a counter initiation here. Roll20 just stacked 2 turn-ins back-to-back, and they haven't killed anybody on Tempo. If they do not get like 2 to 3 forts, they need to really open up this map here, because they are going to be so far behind in the gem department that Tempo can just stack turn-in and turn-in and turn-in and really... I mean, make a colossal swing of momentum into the game. So Roll20, a lot of pressure is on their shoulders during this phase.
I 100% agree with you as they start to push in mid here. Roll20 looking for an open opportunity as they're trying to push. Glaurung flanking, hasn't quite found it. Psalm, however, and Fury both missing the combo, but all of a sudden, Fury is going to fall.
Tempo Storm again trying to show the aggression, and then when it doesn't work out, a beautiful counter response from Roll20. Tempo, you can see the thought process. They want to be that team that can get the initiation, the chain the CCs, and though it has been relatively clean through the early parts of the game, the death timers now are getting so long that they can't mess that up. The same way we just saw 3 CCs are going to be missed by Tempo Storm, and Roll20 goes, thanks for a free initiation.
At this level, any slip-up can be punished, but boy, does Roll20 punish. Well, there's the combo. Nice cleanse onto Glaurung and the roots in return. This time the Ancestral lands, but Fury in all kinds of trouble.
That dream hitting 3 members, but nobody on the side of Tempo dies. The drag coming out from Cattle.
Prismaticism somehow able to walk away. He goes over, attacks the wall to buy some time. But no follow-up. How nobody died?
Tempo Storm has got to be so thankful that the National Bank of their gems are just still there. They have 92, but Justing, overextending, dropping the Blessed Shield, another member, and staggered death on the side of Roll20.
Look at the gems that are sitting there. That is a huge loss on the side of Roll20. And now Tempo Storm finally gets their turn in. They force the gems out of Roll20. Dread, you talked about it. Now they have the turn in and potentially back-to-back if they can take another team fight. This is working heavily in favor of Tempo.
Exactly. This is the moment for them to get that momentum swing, but that hold we were talking about, to keep it into their favor. It's very clear that they're going to even the scales with the first turn in, but what they need to do is stagger the deaths, stagger anything that they can in every opportunity and not lose this fight, because again, they find themselves with an objective up
and they're the ones retreating from fights.
Roll20 trying to be aggressive there, recognizing that Dahaka is in the bottom, trying to push that lane out to get some value out of that. He does have that Brush Stalker that will be available to him when the time comes up, so they have to be careful on the aggression. They chose their moment. Fury being pulled in.
There's going to be the flank. Nice root, but there's still a burrow. Blessed Shield is going to be used, dropping the cleanse, but there's the silence, the 1-2 punch. Tempo fighting back and blowing up Glorong. Can they get more?
They're trying to, and you can see the cleanse there. All of a sudden, we have a Cocoon. We're going to see if we can get the follow-up. They're trying to go. The roots are zoning them out. There we go. And Yoda somehow able to walk away and miss a few of those shots. But again, Tempo Storm Dread.
And meanwhile, the bottom Web Weaver has just been pushing away, securing that bottom fort. And again, we have to look at the gems when this drops. There is beyond another turn in almost 2 in the hands of Tempo Storm. So once this drops, if they can stagger that one pick into another. What I don't like out of Tempo, though, is when they got that initiation, you don't see them looking for another kill. That is what your comp is good for. That is what this hyper-aggressive meta has really made a name for itself through, is staggering deaths. You can't defend anything because we are so offensive, so mobile, and most importantly, so deadly.
I love the fact that Roll20, if I were like somehow in like some random world where I'm in a real fight, like it seems like every member of Roll20 is like, I'm down, let's go. The minute they respawn there, they just walk right up and they're like, we're looking for another opportunity. They know that they have to somehow get the gems off of Tempo Storm because they are short of another turn in, but we are going to have Justine try and turn into what he does have for now.
Again, it's amazing the fact that we see Roll20 splitting for a turn in right now. Getting the Giants, or excuse me, getting their camp, and there's nobody on the side of Tempo stopping that. Again, it's not that that's hurting Tempo that heavily, but those are the things, again, at this level, you can't let your opponent split that many objectives. Look, get the scouting, make sure you don't give anything up to Roll20, because I would argue that is the only reason Roll20 is in this game right now.
We have a little bit of slow action at the moment as things are mounting. They are trying to defend the turn-in is Roll20. Tempo Storm has enough, trying to find that combo as Li Ming gets rooted, but
again,
they're prioritizing the silence. Genji this time able to get out.
The distance between Psalm and Fury cannot be as big as we just saw that initiation. Every time they stick on top of one another, the silence lands onto Glorong, an immediate punish from Anubarak. They can blow him up. But when the silence ends up connecting and Anubarak is not there, we see Glorong surviving. So I'd like to see hyper-focus on their 2 positioning, because the one time we saw them open and it wasn't clean, immediately Roll20 won the fight.
I think the other thing that we're talking about, Tempo Storm, we talked about their aggression at the beginning. We talked about Charge Blast at 4. Dread, we are seeing Cannoneer. Tempo Storm, the team that started to run this last year against Illidan Comps, running it again. Continue to try and find that blow-up potential with these talent choices from Li Ming.
So here is going to be the turn-in fight. 115 gems, keep in mind, for Tempo. 16 is closing in for Roll20. I'm amazed Tempo is still posturing around here, questioning if they want to take this fight. The silence is going to land, but it forces a cleanse now out of Buds. Justin moving forward, scaring the members of Tempo Storm, but Dahaka trying to backdoor a turn-in through bottom. Arthas now making the transition to get the scout. I love that play from Roll20, never giving up anything.
The thing about it is Roll20 now has enough for a turn-in of their own, and they have 16. Nice impale, the double silence, but Arthas coming in for the flank here, Dread.
They're going to turn this fight, but Glorong goes in. He's by himself, the Cocoon, in the momentum there, but now we see Alarak is down. The drag onto Genji. Can they get the pick, the knock-up, the dream, and Glorong survives?
He survives, and Cattle trying to stay alive himself, but Genji did end up following, and now Fury diving the back line. That is 2 members down on the side of Roll20, and Tempo looking for more as Arthas is going down.
Yoda finds himself on an island, and now Tempo Storm is able to get the Web Weaver phase and siege outward. There is not going to be about Fury and Arthas or Genji for at least the first few seconds of this siege. Tempo Storm needs to clear up top fort. They need to clear out mid fort. That lack of vision on the side of Roll20 will make the rotations that much riskier, and into such an easy chain CC composition like Tempo Storm has, it's very hard to, express how difficult it is to move onto the map when you think any shrub you move into could be an opponent, and more importantly, can pretty much global you.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how aggressive they do want to be, and they are now turning their focus to this top lane. They need to get the fort. They need to start opening this map for potential pushes beyond this. They have a full level lead. Anything beyond this is a plus.
this is a risky fight, just purely off of the brush for the Dahaka flank here. If the members of Tempo Storm, or excuse me, Roll20 want to stay up here, this is a very realistic fight for a huge flank and a power play.
Dahaka pushing that bottom lane. We'll keep an eye on this top lane first. As you can see the minimap, Dahaka going, starting to work his way out. That is a massive, massive advantage on the side of Tempo Storm.
Yeah, it is. And the level lead here is now the first time that we find them with so much experience of advantage that they can manipulate the map based on the 20 talent here. We might find Tempo Storm with that because, again, to note, Roll20 barely has enough for their next turn-in, but Tempo Storm find themselves with almost a turn-in and a half.
He has Blessed Shield. Let's see if he's willing to use it. And they are not in position to take a fight as we see Psalm continuing to combo off of Roll20. Both teams now with the turn in Dread, but if this stalls out, you have to think this is in favor of Tempo Storm as they are barely a level away from level 20.
Twilight Dream, the catch is there. Bud's on his own in Island. The Blessed Shield to get the peel. The Ancestral connects, and now Tempo Storm is going to ruin into this fight.
2 members are down already. The cleanse onto Psalm is allowing him to walk away. They try to put the pressure on, but 2 kills is enough. And Dread, it looks like they're making a play on the boss.
They're going for...
they're just going to get turn in.
They're going to go for a boss turn-in play here. It's going to start with Psalm thanks to the fact that Tempo Storm has so many coins or gems that they don't need only 1 to 2 members to be able to get that turn-in. Everybody else resorting to the boss. This is going to be very easy thanks to, Li Ming's build actually kind of aids a bit onto that, but more importantly, the 2 dead members. So we painted the picture last game of the moment you want to see Tempo Storm light things up, to execute perfectly. This is it. They have an opportunity to win this game, but Tempo Storm before this tournament does not. Does Tempo Storm now, the one fighting for their lives at the MSB, does this where they show that they have what it takes? Because, I mean, this is everything they could ask for in this game.
You've got a Web Weaver push, you've got a boss, you're pushing top lane. 20 will be here momentarily. Dread, this could be the moment that Tempo Storm takes game number 2 to even up this series.
Let's see what ends up happening here. They're going to be stacked on top of one another. Arthas has already put so much emphasis to get the clear up on bottom. Mid has already been cleared as well. It's all about this top lane. They go in. Look at Justin falling so very low. The drag for Cattle is not there, but it looks like we now see the keep is down. What can Tempo make happen?
Tempo right now, they're posturing up, looking for a fight. This boss still at 50%. They're going to see if they can combo. Fury on the front line, looking to dive any target. They are going to walk away from this Dreadnought, not willing to take that risk. You got to think that's as good as opportunity as any. You have 20, you have half a boss, a little bit of a Web Weaver left. It's almost, we're taking at least a small risk.
Let me explain why this is confusing. It's not even that they didn't go for the core and they don't all right-click the core there. Is we didn't see even a skill shot thrown out to risk. Can we stagger this death? We have a 20 advantage. You have 20 advantage. Take the fight away from the structures. But Tempo, again, staying extremely reserved, almost to a fault here on Tomb of the Spider Queen, where we know win conditions can be rare. Web Weavers and bosses are really all that it takes outside of a colossal misplay of your opponents. Luckily, they have a Web Weaver soon, but Roll20 will have 20 advantage, or 20 talent here.
Yeah.
So you got to ask yourself, was the boss with the Web Weaver and 20 advantage an easier fight to take than that of 20 on 20 with a Web Weaver? I'm going to say it was.
I'd say it would. They're going to try and go back-to-back turn-ins, but again, they do not have... They actually have exactly enough in Roll20 without 20. Not able to defend. But
calculated.
It was. God, they got the last gems there at the last moment.
Oh, I like this. I like this. Just any kind of, not being where Roll20 expects you to be. So I'm just going to show, though. You can. You have to stagger death.
You don't.
Yeah, you're right. Your win condition, if Tempo does not win here with these Web Weaver phase, you're right. It's a very significant... It's a long time away, a couple of minutes at least, because again, the boss being down is really, outside of Roll20, just essentially walking in and giving you free kills. It's very unrealistic.
All right, nobody in that top
lane,
although they're turning the fight. The cleanse onto Psalm, the Ancestral.
That's way too early.
Oh, the army going in, but Fury trying to return here, and there is the damage. Genji the first to fall, and that is such a massive move for Tempo to start this fight.
Genji goes down before he gets off Dragon Blade, before the Twilight Dream is used, and now Buzz is on full retreat. The top Web Weaver has found itself onto the core already, but look at Arthas on the backside. June is on full retreat, and Roll20, though they lose Genji immediately by a bit of time because they're afraid of their core.
Their core is starting to fall to that Web Weaver push. They finally turn their focus. Dread, I think it might be too late as shields are gone and the core down to 70% and falling.
70 and counting. Can they get the death? Everybody's so low, they might not have this. He goes in, there's gonna be the first pick. The reset is there, and with that, Roll20 is going to fall. Tempo Storm even ups this series 1-1.
Sounds like we've got a few Tempo fans out there, Dread.
Yeah, we do, and you know, talk about a roller coaster of emotions if you are a Tempo Storm fan in that last game. But I love what we see here. Tempo Storm fighting in the series. Yes, they may show the same characteristics, but at least we see them holding their composure and doing what they know best.
That calculation of the gems there at the end, they were a little bit short. They knew that they had enough time, just enough time to fall back. So we see Roll20, that Prismaticism looking on, and June himself. I'd say that clutch cleanse at the Ancestral was a little bit early, but the cleanse to get him out, not too shabby.
Not too shabby. And also, you know, I would say a lot of that last team fight, I thought the Ancestral was way too early, but the lack of Twilight Dream as the initiation, Genji didn't even press the R button. He had no opportunity to do so, and it was, you could see it was disabled with Twilight, then the Genji goes in. It's like old school Wailing Arrow Illidan, but it was just not well executed by Roll20, and it cost him the game.
It cost him the game, but there was so much more that went on in that game, and I can't wait to hear what our analysis panel in the back has to say about it.
That's right, the game number 2, and the comeback begins here for Tempo Storm, Gelly.
That it does. It was a really important victory for Tempo Storm that they not get down 2 games versus Roll20, because I think that pressure could have gotten to them. But Tempo's safety worked out for them this time. They didn't lose the gems. Even though they got behind in the turn-ins, they were able to get a couple of turn-ins in a row and a boss to really just snowball the pressure back toward Roll20 in the later game.
Yeah, much more control this time. They seem to have gotten their juice, which was really good to see. I feel like Anubarak did a really good job of setting up a lot of the kills that did come their way. A couple of missed Ancestrals here and there, but overall they got the job done. And I think I have some criticism for Glaurung in particular. He seemed a little bit too hungry a few times to get fights to actually break out, and it kind of cost a few fights.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It did look like Glau was a little bit more unfamiliar on the Genji, and he was really antsy to get the fights going. His team does play around him, so when he's the Medivh, it works out really well. He says go, drops a portal, and they're in. But, you know, if he's on the Genji and he goes before the rest of his team is ready, it can get dicey at times, and I have a replay here showing the turning point of this game. So we see the fight breaking out. It's very close in levels. Tempo is about to turn 16 here. Both teams are vying for the turn-in. And right here, we have a good 2-man stun into the 2-man combo. If we could pause right here. So this is very, very important. Malfurion, he gets cocooned, and the most important thing here is this bullet, I believe, actually slightly misses if we play on here. So initially, this fight goes in Tempo's favor. Glaurung goes in, but he's in a 3 versus 1 situation. His Malfurion is cocooned. He ends up using his Protect and his Dragon Blade only to get his Malfurion out. Meanwhile, if we pause again, so June actually went up here instead of going downwards, and that was a bit of a mistake on Tempo Storm's side because there were 3 people here focusing the Alarak. So remember what I said in the group stages. When your opponents are focusing one hero, June does not want to go down here because he's nervous about being so close to the Arthas and the front line, but everyone was using their cooldowns on the Alarak, so if June went down here, he could have gotten the Ancestral. But since he didn't, this fight turned into a 5 versus 4, and at this point, even though there were misplays on Roll20's side, this is their fight to win. You see the tongue just got used there, 2-man silence saves Glaurung, and if we can slow it down here and pause right here, so Glaurung sees the play here. He could have been patient. You see, Dahaka was all in for him. There is nothing this Dahaka can do. He has no Q, no W, right? And all he has is a burrow left. And you see, pause right here. Glaurung went for the Dahaka kill. Dahaka burrowed. He would have been pretty much dead right here because he would have been in the middle of 4 people and you could slowly poke him down. But because Glaurung went in just a little bit too early, he wanted the kill. He saw he almost had it. Cawthon had the reset there, just pressed E on him. And at that moment, your 5 versus 4 turned into a 4 versus 4. But you lost your hyper carry with the resets, and you just gave their hyper carry the resets. And at that point, you know, from a 5 versus 4 situation, it turned into Roll20 basically losing 3 people, and that was very important because whoever loses this fight gets the turn-in. Whoever loses this fight, you know, the opposite team gets turn-in plus boss, snowballs the game to 20.
as you were saying, there seemed like there were small moments in that game that were very reminiscent of that one for Glaurung. And so Glaurung's this kind of like, it's bordering on madness and genius sometimes when he tries to do these things. Sometimes it pays off and you look like a god, but other times it just looks absolutely crazy. And that's how it plays out. I think what we're going to do, guys, now is we're going to go to a short break here after game number 2. And when we return, game number 3, as these two teams from North America are 1-1, Roll20 and Tempo Storm.